Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Minnesota River Rat discussion or podcast. Yet to be determined on what we're exactly labeling this, but a little bit of background for me. My name is Caleb. I've been hunting and fishing in Minnesota for as long as I can remember now. This is my home state. It's where I've grown up. It's probably where I'm going to spend even longer part of my life. And with the amount of time I've spent doing everything here, I feel like I may have enough experience to finally weigh into some subjects and topics of discussion. So today we are going to be covering the Minnesota bird population as well as habitat, surrounding areas such as North Dakota. We may touch on Wisconsin and Canada, as well as some climate related issues that may be affecting waterfowl in Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, Arkansas, Louisiana. Minnesota does actually play a large part in a lot of states' duck season. So, and then a little bit on organizations such as DU. So, to start off with, we're going to talk a little bit about the bird population overall. This is North American bird population in general, and Minnesota is not exempt from that, obviously. Um, So since the 80s, is the last time we saw a peak in, let's just say, mallard population. Since then, mallard population has been on steady decline over the past 45 years now. So our mallard population now in North America is down 40% compared to what it was in the 80s. And that is far from the best thing and the greatest news you want to hear. And I'm sure a lot of you are aware of that. And if you're not, well, now you know. But bird population in general, not just including mallards, has been on decline. We've been seeing decline in mallard population, pintail. Most of the dabbling ducks, some divers. Not too sure on sea ducks on the East Coast or West Coast. That is a little outside my range, but you you're definitely noticing a drop in bird population, especially at least in Minnesota, and I'm sure that's spread across the Midwest, especially from some reports I've heard from people I know and read on online and some forums. We are seeing less birds, and I feel like it's becoming more apparent over the past 5 or 6 years compared to before, because we were still kind of fallen off that high. Bird population does take a while to decrease, especially when you don't have people on boats like way back when with the punt guns just wiping out flocks of birds with one shot. But no, bird population is definitely on decrease, and I feel like one of the biggest proponents of that, if not the biggest, is habitat loss. In Minnesota alone, you see a lot more development happening right now than you were 10, 12 years ago. Buildings are going up in places you wouldn't think that there would have ever been buildings. And I'm sure this is a story across the whole country. Public land is disappearing. Habitat is disappearing along with that public land. With states like Minnesota and the Midwest, and I guess I'm not entirely sure if it's federal regulation, but there are some wetland conservation efforts going on right now. Ducks Unlimited, a big part of it in Minnesota. I'm pretty sure most of their work has been done in Canada in the past, but you are definitely seeing them do a lot in the Midwest. If you hop on Onyx even, and you just kind of scroll around some waterways, you turn on the filter, there's a ton of Ducks Unlimited land popping up, especially over the past couple of years. It's kind of been a breath of fresh air. I know some people aren't the craziest about Ducks Unlimited, thinking that Ducks Unlimited is taking all their money and not redistributing it properly. They feel like they should be putting more into the U.S. than Canada, but that is actually probably not the fairest assessment, because you got to think most of Mississippi Flyway's bird population does start off in Canada, runs down to Mexico, and from there is just this linear path. And us in the United States generally, sure, we have our local ducks, but most of the ducks we're seeing through the year are coming out of Canada. So our best conservation effort for waterfowl habitat would probably need to be Canada in and of itself, with Canada losing their wetlands and their prairie pothole regions slowly. Granted, granted it is slowly, but it is happening. There's habitat loss happening everywhere, but Canada is probably at the forefront of what our expectations should be for waterfowl hunters. And I'm not saying give up our public lands. That would be a very stupid thing to do. I do not hunt private land. I'm strictly a public land hunter because, for one, I don't have any private land I can hunt, and for two, I like the work that comes with being a public land duck hunter. So, no, probably habitat is the biggest factor, and companies like Ducks Unlimited already kind of touched on this, but companies like Ducks Unlimited, or organizations, whatever you want to call them, are really contributing into waterfowl conservation and habitat conservation mostly. And they are lobbying for different reg and all that stuff as far as land goes, and bird or game bird laws in general. Ducks Unlimited is not the only organization that is contributing to habitat maintenance, I guess is probably the best word for it. But Pheasants Forever, Bucks Unlimited, all those companies to play a big factor in habitat conservation for waterfowl, as well as obviously pheasants, blue grouse, spruce grouse, ruffed grouse, pretty much anything and everything that either has wings or four legs that you can shoot and put on the table. All those companies are really putting in a lot of effort in order to maintain our right to public land hunt. And a side effect of that, because they are getting all this land either from farm foreclosures. I know a lot of people aren't necessarily the happiest about that portion of it, especially in the Dakotas, mostly in the Dakotas. Uh, but it is really helping waterfowl population. So as waterfowl hunters, we should be excited, even if at some instances it's against other people's expense. But Canada has been seeing a lot of loss in the in their prairie pothole region. North Dakota is one of the other issues as far as habitat goes, is farmers and tilling their fields. And I'm not about to tell a farmer what to do as far as their job goes, because I'm not a farmer. I'm a mechanic in the full time. But no, what'll happen is you'll have a lot of dabbling ducks, or ducks that will nest in short grass and prairies. They'll end up nesting in farmers' fields that have not been completely tilled out, where they still see corn stalk and it's grain field and a little bit of that poking up. And then when the farmer goes to till, what will end up happening is they'll run over eggs. In some instances, they'll end up run over hens. And this is not as much habitat loss as is habitat misidentification on the bird's part, which not much we can do to help that. I mean, as a bunch of waterfowl hunters, we could get along and go lobby to say legally farmers need to till up their field by this time of the year in order to preserve duck population, but I don't think that will ever happen, and I don't think it necessarily should. It is their land, is their private property, even if there is some shitty things that kind of come out of it. So that's probably the biggest part of the habitat discussions. Then we could also move on to climate here. One of the issues with climate is, as much as I hate to say it and kind of bend the knee a little bit here, things are warming up a little bit. The polar ice caps, you're definitely seeing those melt. You're definitely seeing warmer winters in Minnesota, which will affect the hunt for guys down south. So our heated ponds are less heated ponds, and just the weather not getting cold enough to ice up anything quick enough for other people's duck seasons, or waterfowl, or whatever you want to call it. But no, the winters, they're just getting more and more mild. This is probably the best winter so far we've seen in Minnesota in the past 3 years. We barely got any snow last year. Ice was good, but that was December and January from what I remember, November wasn't really that great until like the last half, but you're not really waterfowl hunting in November, or oh, I suppose it ends in November unless you're goose hunting in January. So yeah, yeah. Anyway, the winters have been more mild. It's not icing up as quick, I should say, because you were seeing ice in November last year, but it's not icing up quick enough for the larger bodies of water, such as Lake of the Woods, where all the divers and a lot of puddle ducks will actually stay until it freezes over and they need to move on. Uh, that's not freezing up as quick as it normally would. This year it froze up pretty quick, and I'm guessing a lot of people down south are having a lot better seasons than they were the past couple of years. But even this year, compared to years prior, you're not seeing as many ducks migrate as quick. I feel like when you were seeing them in like mid-November, early November, now you're more seeing them in like late November, early December. This year was a little bit different. The big push was more so mid to late November. Most things were gone in December, or I guess now, besides some geese flown in the river, or swans. You'll see a few dowlers here. Most of the ducks that are left are divers, though. Seen a lot of golden eyes lately, actually, and bluebills. But no, the things are warming up, and that's not just in Minnesota. That's not just in Canada. That's not just way up north, but it's also warming up for you guys down south. Because you got to think the amount of times you broke ice in the past to get out on a body of water versus how many times you're breaking ice now. I don't think in the past 2 years I have had to break ice to get the boat out to the spot, or if we're hunting off the bank to make an opening for some decoys. I haven't had to do it anytime recently. This year was the only time in this last week in the season where I was kind of worried about needing to break some ice, but didn't end up happening. Just icy boat launch and a little bit of sheet was starting to form, but nothing that the boat wouldn't just go through, or you could walk and it pretty much just crumble away for 10 feet. So things are definitely getting warmer. Minnesota's temperature swings are becoming a little bit narrower through the year. If you really want to know how your duck season is going to go down south, look at Saskatchewan, look at Minnesota, see what their temperature is. If you can, talk to people in the Midwest. Uh, we are the first to see major duck pushes, and they haven't been that great. Saw a few that were pretty decent this year, but nothing super crazy. So, some possible resolutions to maybe bring duck population back up. Uh, some of the possible resolutions would be limit changes. I'm not saying it needs to be immediate, but with constant decline, how are you going to make something rise? Either lower limits or lower the number of drakes that are out in the wild right now. With pintails especially, I'm pretty sure that the North American rate of pintail hen to pintail drake is one hen for every 10 drakes. So that's kind of resulting in a lot of a lot of pintail hens being overbred and not necessarily wanting to breed anymore. Just stressing the birds are pressuring themselves. So it's gonna just result in more hen mortality. It's gonna result in less eggs being fertilized uh, and successfully fertilized. And if the hen's too tired to take care of the eggs, then the eggs aren't gonna hatch. So pintails is just one example of this. Maybe something we do need to do is open up more drakes, even if a population's in decline, take out more drakes to hens. So maybe try and get like that 1 to 10 ratio down to like a 1 to 5. You'd probably end up seeing the bird population start to climb again. And then if the drake population starts to get out of hand, then maybe raise drake limit again. And I think this can extend to mallards, wood ducks. They're seem about the same as every other year. I actually feel like I saw more wood ducks this year than I have in years prior. But mallards, divers, those are a little harder. I mean, the limit's already pretty low for divers. At least last I checked, I'm pretty sure it was two of a species. Uh, think didn't matter Drake or hen. I'd need to look back at it again, but uh, no, for mallards even lower than 100 drakes. You're seeing more drakes than you are hens. So a solution for this could be, I know California actually did here pretty recently. They changed the limit from, I think they had a two pintail limit to now they had like four, three of which were drakes, and maybe extend that to Minnesota mallard limit. I do feel like though that one's a little bit harder to do, just since there's already two hens to four drakes. I think I haven't looked at Ray again a couple weeks here. I'm always needing to remind myself, but no, maybe just lower even the hen on that limit by one, because I'm pretty sure mallards are kind of seeing that same ratio of drakes to hens. So if you lower that hen to maybe just one hen in your daily bag instead of two, and then say five drakes or even lower the amount of drakes, just try and bring even drake population up a little bit more. I think that that could result in some population climb again. Uh, this year I don't think was nearly as bad. I think it only ended up dropping about 4%. Teal finally dropped. They were at pretty sure they were at a record high in the last couple of years, and I think that finally dropped like 1 or 2%. But no, I feel like uh, quicker, easier solution would just be change bag limits across Canada, the U.S. and Mexico. Maybe I know the North American Waterfowl Treaty does have to do with per capita limit, but uh, maybe just maybe lower the numbers of birds that can be bagged in Canada and Mexico, because a lot of hunters are going to Canada and Mexico to get these amazing waterfowl hunts that you see online where you can walk up and damn near just pick up a bird in Canada, and in Mexico they're coming in by the droves and you just need to point at the sky and shoot. So that could be one solution. As far as the habitat loss goes, uh, I feel like we're already kind of putting our best foot forward. You can only buy up so much land. States don't want to lose as much revenue. They make money off of farmland through taxes. If they build a Walmart or Target or whatever on this big plot of land, maybe need to encroach into wetland a little bit. They're going to still probably opt for that just because of tax revenue. So that's definitely more of an uphill battle. You are seeing some effort though, if farmers are willing to turn uh, their easement for like 30 years or whatever, they end up getting a payout and makes it permanent wetland or something along those lines. I could be wrong. I know that was a pretty vague statement, but uh, maybe maybe lobby for a little bit more public land coming back up and a little bit more wetland conservation as well as prairie conservation, not just prairie grass, but uh, wide open spaces with water anywhere near them. Maybe just try and conserve those a little bit better. I feel like they're going away all too quick. Not dedicate as much land to farm. Maybe lobby for better farming practices. But no, so that's one thing. As far as the climate goes, really nothing we can do as hunters about that. But it's a slippery slope. The best we can do is try and climb it because you don't want some we love and enjoy now to be gone in the next 100 years. And I feel like we need to start putting in better conservation effort in general. And I'm not saying that we're doing a bad job right now, but I'm saying we could do a better job. And I feel like a lot of waterfowl hunters, big game hunters, even upland hunters, we all kind of need to take a step back, stop trying to take, and maybe giving a little bit more. And I know we're already donating plenty when you go to Cabela's and you donate, or Bass Pro, or when you donate to Ducks Unlimited or Pheasants Forever, or Bucks Unlimited, or whatever other conservation groups. And even when you buy your license, you're supposedly donating to the Minnesota or your state's DNR or conservation efforts, but it feels like some of that money is being misplaced. For Ducks Unlimited and Bucks Unlimited and Pheasants Forever, it's a little bit different because that's acquiring land, lobbying to change this land into that. And they're doing a pretty good job. You're seeing a lot of Ducks Unlimited land pop up around Minnesota, even the suburbs and damn near inner city. You're seeing some Ducks Unlimited. If you go on to Onyx, if that's the only filter you turn on, even Bucks Unlimited or Pheasants Forever, just go on there, turn on those filters. You will be probably in shock if you haven't already looked at how much land they have actually acquisition and just turned into reserve, which that is admirable. And Minnesota has had a lot more, or feels like a lot more, that I've been realizing lately over the past couple of years. Ducks Unlimited has come in and made a lot of reserve land in conjunction with the state or as their own solo entity. So it's all food for thought. I feel like maybe after 20 some odd minutes of me rambling on, it may be time to stop here. I feel like we've kind of hit a good stopping point as far as what we can do. So, yeah, again, my name is Caleb. This was the first Minnesota River Rat discussion podcast. Like I said, still trying to figure that out. Hopefully, I can keep up a schedule to keep putting these out throughout the winter at least. And then once fishing starts to come around, or can even do a little bit of ice fishing content for now. And then once summer starts to come around, we'll get into open water. Just kind of play along with the seasons here, and then maybe pre-record for some of those later months. And right now, I'm not going to promise as much dedication as I'm saying because I do work a full-time job and I do work a lot of hours. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. God bless. Have a great day, and thank you for watching.